Hello, welcome back to Weber Reviews, and today we're going to talk about IP board games, Shadow of Proofs. He's trying to figure out a way out. So, one of the things that are typical is IP games are generally considered subpar most of the time. They are, right?
Yep.
But that's changed a lot lately. And I'm going to start with, now remember these aren't in any order, it's just what we're looking, oh, go ahead.
I would say we did try to confine ourselves to only one game per IP, so we didn't get like 10 Star Wars games or something. Although we actually have no Star Wars games, which is weird, but it's because we've talked about them in other places.
And we're trying to find them games that people haven't heard. You know, we've talked about Star Wars Risk, we've talked about Imperial Assault and other lists. We want to find some games you may not have heard and should be findable and cheap. So, you want to start?
Sure. So this is Toy Story. It's a deck building game, and it's very similar to the Harry Potter deck building game. Really similar mechanics. It's that same idea of the game's going to get harder as you go, but it's Toy Story. And it's really suitable. When you start game one, it's actually a really easy game, just like the Harry Potter game works on, and it gets harder as you go. Certainly Harry Potter gets much harder. This one doesn't get as much, but still a lot of fun. And if you enjoy the Disney Toy Story theme, you're going to really enjoy this game.
Yep. All right, this next one's in a way a cop-out because it's every IP. So Funkoverse is a light skirmish miniatures game. And when I say everything, I mean everything. They've got a Batman core set, Harry Potter core set. They have the Kool-Aid Man who smashes through walls. They've got Rick and Morty.
They have the Golden Girls. I like the Golden Girls. I beat up people with the Golden Girls.
The Golden Girls is one of the best teams out there. Keep that in mind. The thing is, Funkoverse, I'm a miniature gamer. I love it. I like board games, but I like my miniatures games. This is really light skirmish, but it has a mechanism to allow you to use special abilities so often. It's a great light skirmish, fun game. Going to take you a half hour, but you can make up and split up and come up with any number of teams. So if it's an IP, I mean, they've got the Back to the Future now. They got Batman. They've got Wonder Woman, everything. So IP game, Funkoverse, good group. They're the same group that did Pan Am and all the Prospero Hall.
Okay. Legendary Encounters has a bunch of different ones. This is the X-Files. I loved the X-Files as a teenager. I still enjoy the X-Files. And this is hard. We lose a lot.
We won one.
Yes, we did finally win one. But you really feel like you're playing the X-Files. You get a great sense of playing the X-Files. And it's deck building. It's Legendary Encounters, so it's similar to the Legendary system, but the encounters definitely have more to them. Setup definitely takes a while. It is not just open the box and start playing. Yeah. But you get to play your favorite characters. You see, all the stuff from the different episodes. So if you're someone who enjoys the X-Files and have watched a lot of episodes, you're going to very much enjoy this game. And then, of course, it's a good, solid game on top of that.
Yep. All right, this one, if you have read any of the Jim Butcher Dresden Files, this game is Dresden Files in a box. The thing is, it's a card game. It's all of the books up through, I think Changes was the last expansion that they finished. And it's a card game. It's really a puzzle. You're going to shuffle them, put them out, and then each of the characters have your own decks. If it's two-player, you've got basically two decks a piece. But what it is you're trying to use those cards and fate points to get rid of or solve cases, defeat enemies, overcome the obstacles, and get benefits. Do remember, though, you don't shuffle your deck. When you're out of cards, you're out of cards. You're done.
The app's really good as well, though, too.
Oh, man, I play the heck out of the app. It's a hard one, but it's fun.
This is fantastic beasts, and this is a dice game actually.
Mm-hmm.
And I've talked about Harry Potter deck building before, and I love that game. But this is a very different game. This is you're fighting the different magical beasts. You're trying to confine them back to the suitcase is what you're doing. And you get beat up a lot. And they're trying to escape, and they can run away. And you've got these different dice. You're trying to build up your, defenses so that you can better, contain the different magical beasts. It's a lot of fun. It's a light, easy game. Only complaint is this is actually a game that definitely could use an expansion, just they need more beasts to fight. If you play it a lot, you will get sick of seeing the same beast. There's just not enough per level. But other than that, it's a really fun game. Actually, we hadn't even seen these movies yet. We bought the game. We can play so much. Like, we should really watch the movie. So we went back and watched and enjoyed the movie after playing the game.
They're okay. That one, I will say, is probably one of the easier co-ops. There are ways to make it harder, and you may want to do that after a couple of plays. It can get pretty easy if
you have to be able to roll well, though, and he doesn't roll well, so we don't usually have that problem.
It's hard to argue with the truth. This is the most asked game that I own. Most asked about from my friends. Cowboy Beebop, Boardgame Boogie. It is a co-op. And it is a pick up and deliver game. Which means she's... I will give it, I've been asked a lot. I think the game is solid. It's adequate. It's not a spectacular game. The theme, though, is Cowboy Bebop. If you said theme, I'd give it 8 out of 10. If you said gameplay, probably 6 out of 10. And remember, 6 out of 10 is better. It's a good one. One that I would play anytime I was asked. But because of the theme, I will throw this down almost anytime. Your goal is to move stuff around, and complete one of your arcs for the character. So, you got to play Faye Valentine once, and it was Honky Tonk Woman. And you had to get certain aspects to certain places, and you had to work as a team to accomplish it. I like it. Great game. Not really talked about, though. So.
If you like your classic Disney, this one is for you. This is Disney Villainous. There's a bunch of expansions already for this one. The thing is you'll think this is a kid's game. This is not a kid's game. This is actually really, really hard to teach. The reason is because it is so asymmetrical. Every single deck plays so differently. Yep. So I can't tell you how to play your deck when you start out. I can't even really give you good suggestions because your deck is going to be so different than the deck I'm playing. Now that makes it awesome for experienced gamers because every game is so different, every deck is so different, and you really feel like you're playing these different villains. But we bought it thinking our sons would like it, but it's actually, our 12-year-old now, no problem, but it's actually too advanced for our 10-year-old. Well, for his attention span is more the point.
Well, even then, yeah.
Even then. I mean, it's just, as I said, we had to go back when we first were trying to teach our sons. We had to play the deck he wanted to play first and learn how it worked. So it's a really cool game. You'll really enjoy it if you enjoy your Disney villains. And it's a good game no matter what, because it's so asymmetrical. You're really going to feel like every character is unique and different, and you get to play it differently, and there's different victory conditions. So really well thought out. It's just definitely not a starter game.
No. One of the things with that one is it's almost better if you've got somebody who's familiar with all of the villains you have to teach onto the side. Help everybody who's starting. So, all right. This happened to be one of my best finds at Goodwill. It was unpunched. $3. So you can find cheap copies of this because it didn't get as much buzz. This is an excellent game. The Godfather, Simon and Spaghetti Western games, but The Godfather, Corleone's Empire. Wow, words are hard today. This is a worker placement, resource management, and chuck your opponent's guys into the river game. It's fun. Works better probably 3 or 4. 2 will play, but 3 or 4 you start to really get into it. You start to compete and move around. Great game. Underrated, and you can find it pretty cheap if you look. The Godfather.
Now I had to keep myself to one Star Trek game, but I chose Star Trek Panic to do something different. This again very much feels like the original series in a box, and the toy factor is great because you got the ship and you're moving it around, and you're putting, as it blows up, you're putting the different pieces on to show that like it's disabled and it's on fire. And again, you really feel like you're going through an episode of Star Trek. And as someone who grew up on original series Star Trek, I really enjoy that. Fleet Captains has that much more exploration aspect. This has the more episodic, I feel like I'm going through each episode feeling. And it's really lighthearted. You get to play the different characters. It's not that difficult to teach, so it's easy to get out. Our kids enjoy it. It's a lot of fun. And if you want something different, there's a couple different Panic versions, but this is definitely our favorite, is the Star Trek version.
Oh, Star Trek, that one, you get blown up a lot.
Yeah, you do. Your ship definitely looks like the end of a Star Trek episode or a movie.
And I know we've talked about Legendary before, and we've talked about Legendary Encounters. Now, Legendary Encounters tends to be a more episodic build-up one, but I'm going to go Legendary, so regular Legendary, which is just a fun deck builder, but Big Trouble in Little China. Though you can mix it with Marvel and stuff, and it is pretty fun to see Jack Burton running with Wolverine. But it's just a fun game, throws down. Once you get the box organized, this one sets up way faster than the Encounters. But you got to get the boxes organized first. I'm a big fan of Big Trouble in Little China. I know several of you have not seen or heard the movie, but it's a blast. And do not take it seriously, but this particular version of Legendary comes out pretty good.
Well, Legendary has a lot of IP different ones. You can really find whatever IP you want in Legendary.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, we love Warehouse 13.
Yep.
And so we kickstarted this one because we couldn't resist. And it is a really good game. It's got a little bit of a trader mechanic, but it's not bad because they're whammied. I don't like the trader mechanic, actually detest it. So in this one, it kind of works for me because I don't feel like it's the same level of the trader mechanic, and it goes along very well with the theme. But again, very much feels like the Warehouse 13. You've got the motif going, and the gameplay runs nice and smooth. So definitely, this is, if you're a fan of the show, you'll enjoy it. But it's a good game regardless of whether you like the show or not.
You can do a 2-player pure co-op. And that one's, in many ways, a spiritual successor to Battlestar Galactica, the game. It has things that have some similar aspects. So if you're familiar with that and liked it, this might be one that you can check out if you were looking for. Now, I've talked about, or at least I think I've talked about, War of the Ring. Love War of the Ring. One of my favorite games of all time. But Battle of the Five Armies is another one that, The Hobbit, end of The Hobbit, and I'm talking about the books. I will say something sacrilegious. I've never watched the Hobbit movies. Is what it is. Love the Lord of the Rings movies, but Battle of the Five Armies is just that. And this is kind of, as a lot of people say, the free people are hosed in War of the Ring, this one's the opposite. If you do not charge through as the bad guys, things start showing up. Like, oh no, look, Yorn's here, and half of your stuff starts to go away.
I beat him up really good in this.
Yes, you have. And oh look, the Eagles.
I like the Eagles.
Oh,
they
no.
made me happy.
So, and this plays similar, but not exactly the same as War of the Ring. It's also a lot quicker to set up and a lot quicker to play. So, Battle of the Five Armies, if you are a fan of Lord of the Rings and or a fan of War of the Ring, this is a good game to check out.
So, IP doesn't necessarily mean, I think a lot of times we see, our favorite IP just came out, the game's going to suck. They've really done much better, and a lot of recent games coming out have actually been really, really solid games that you get to enjoy the IP and a good playthrough. And then even if you don't like the IP, you could still enjoy the game. Whereas there's been there's been a couple that just completely disappointed us. But these are all games that we really enjoyed the IP. Oh, Samurai Jack. He was so sad. Just so sad.
I was very sad at that one.
But, these are all what we consider good IP games. We've talked a lot about a lot of mentions because we had to narrow it down. So hopefully you'll find some of these as something you want to try out.
Thanks. Talk to you later.